Hi, this is Mark Hotmeyer from Student Health and Counseling. I am very sorry that I wasn't able to be with you guys today, so I did something I've never done before and made a video of what I was going to talk about, and then I'm going to put it on YouTube, and then it'll be easy for you guys to drop and take a look at. And so my topic is boundaries. It's a refresher on boundaries, because we're always worried about boundaries, because boundaries prevent us from burning out, and when we're dealing with people constantly, boundaries are always under attack. And so I found some good information and whipped it up, put it together. You'll find all of it on the sheet in front of you, and hopefully you're coming up with some stuff to talk about with whoever's leading this discussion, who's actually there with you today, so you can have some comments and questions and discuss the topic. It's important, and hopefully you can use this to kind of guide you when you're having a rough week in the semester to come. So the topic again is boundaries or burnout. Boundaries come from the heart. You can't be awesome when you are feeling sucked dry. It's time to create your own personal culture so that people around you can thrive in your presence. You are no longer to define yourself as a nice and caring helper. People will take advantage of nice and caring helpers. You are now a role model. You're a role model of a well-defined, balanced personality. And when I say well-defined, I mean that you are consistent, you're not moody, and you do not show favoritism to anyone. To be consistent, you have to take care of yourself, and you have to maintain boundaries. Remember, as a role model, you are getting people familiar to the culture of you. You can't do this if you aren't consistent, and you can't do this if you are moody or show favoritism. So here are the rules that I found from the internet, from my own experience, and from actually a YouTube video that will help you maintain boundaries. 1. Actions must have consequences. If someone is being negative, angry, or manipulative around you, are you setting boundaries against it? A. You should minimize interactions with people who are manipulative. Manipulation can be intentional or unintentional. You can be aware that you are being manipulated when you find yourself working harder to help or support a person than you are working to help or support, than they are working to help or support themselves. Reinforce positive and adaptive self-help behaviors. Don't forget to give good attention for good behaviors that are respectful of your boundaries. An example would be, a student comes to talk to you about a roommate issue constantly, but never follows one of your suggestions to talk to the roommate about these concerns. And this is an example of you working harder than the student who's coming and asking for your help. And that is unintentional, probably manipulation. They probably don't realize that they're being helpless, but they are. And it's important for you to talk to them about the fact that they never are following through. 2. Ultimately, we are only responsible for that which we can control. We are responsible to each other. We are not responsible for each other. This means we refuse to be the rescuer or the enabler for somebody else's irresponsible behavior. If your role in life is only to help people who are struggling, then you will feel empty if you are not constantly attached to needy people and unconsciously maintaining their neediness. And you know, in our business we are caregiving, and it's very important to remember that the line is that we are trying to free people from neediness, and therefore we can't need the people who need us. B. This is both enabling and codependency. An example, if you feel that it is your fault that a friend who drinks too much goes to the hospital with alcohol poisoning, then you are suffering from this feeling that there's no division between you and the person that you're helping, and that's not right. Everybody is responsible for themselves ultimately, and we need to keep that in mind. 3. Our power is limited. Accept it. We have some power over some things and not over others. We can't change other people. We have to remember that we can't change or fix anyone who doesn't want to change and fix themselves. You can change yourself at any time. That's the power you do have, to change yourself. Often when you change who you are in a healthy way, people who are close to you are forced to face themselves and will finally consider change, because we kind of see this as a system, and if you change one part of the system, the other part has to at least take a look at what's going on and adapt in some way. Sometimes good and sometimes more bad. Example, if you're worried about a person who you care about who smokes, you can choose not to go outside and stand with him when he is doing it. So there the option is that the control you have is to not support the smoking by not going out with them, not sending mixed messages by standing with them while they smoke outside. Number 4, respect for all. If we want people to respect our boundaries, then we must respect theirs. A. Since you cannot change others, you cannot demand that they must change who they are. B. You can enforce that their behavior is not acceptable around you or on the floor. This will mean that they can keep their behavior if they want, but they have to accept that they don't have control over some of the ramifications of keeping that negative behavior, the consequences. Losing the strength of the relationship with you. You can always pull back if they aren't behaving or treating you in the way that you want to be treated. It is also, because they are in the dorms, the idea that if they keep their behavior up, they'll be kicked out of the dorms. They can choose to keep the behavior, but the behavior will lead to them being kicked out of the dorms. C, an example. You cannot make another person not be racist. You can choose to share with him your opinion on the matter, choose not to listen to him or her talk like that, and remind him that any intimidation on campus based on race will have real consequences, but you have no control, and it's useless to get in arguments with a person about trying to make them change. We kind of lead them that way through our own role modeling example and other powers that we have to kind of coerce people, which is usually the power that we might have if somebody lives in a dorm to say that if you continue this behavior, then you can leave. 5, motivation comes from choice. We must be free to say no before we can wholeheartedly say yes, and this is really important because we always talk about boundaries and the ability to say no when you mean it. Burnout often occurs after we have lost the ability to say no to people, and I even find this in counseling, is if I'm overwhelmed, it's harder for me to say no and I take on more and more. It's a slippery slope. A yes is that much more sincere and powerful when we can honestly tell people no, when we don't feel we can do something. An honest no is 10 times healthier in any relationship than a regretted yes. You can find this in friends that can really state their values. If they don't want to do something, they say no, and then you get really excited when they finally do want to do something with you, because you know they really want to do something with you, and there's no guilt on your part that they just did it to go along with you and to be nice. For example, when a student states that they need to talk and you need to study for a test in 1 hour, you should tell them that you would not be a good listener right now and that they will get the listener that they deserve later when you are done with the test. If the student hears this and then says they are suicidal, you should get the student to the right person who can give the student the attention that they need. Again, the primary help for the student is not you, because you stated you are not available and the student heard this. By the student then stating that he is suicidal, it indicates that he needs help, and it doesn't matter if it's from you or not. You then appropriately connect him with somebody who can help them right now, and by doing this you have maintained your boundary and helped the student appropriate to what he or she is asking for and needs. Reevaluate boundaries. Number 6. Keep checking your boundary fences that they are doing what they are supposed to do. Boundaries are supposed to help others respect you and grow from understanding where you stop and they begin. Boundaries are not supposed to be overly punitive, diminishing, or cause injury to those around us. If a boundary is inconsistent or shows favoritism, this will inevitably occur. An example, if you notice that students don't feel comfortable approaching you at any time, then you may have created the wrong perception with the boundaries you are trying to establish. You must readjust and